Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I want to show you the basics of driving a manual transmission car for the very first time. Now I'm currently sitting in a car that I think is very simple to drive, and that is a Chevy Spark, more specifically a brand new 2022 model. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right in the video, show you the basics of driving a manual transmission vehicle for the very first time. So the first thing you want to do is find an empty parking lot with little or no obstacles that is relatively flat. Now flat is key because then you won't be rolling backwards or rolling anywhere when the vehicle is in neutral. And if it's open, you can drive pretty much wherever you want without worrying about hitting anything or damaging any property. So that is very key. Find an empty, open parking lot. Now, once you find a parking lot, obviously you need to get a manual transmission vehicle to this parking lot. Now, chances are if you're watching this video, you don't know how to drive stick quite yet. So you need a person to drive that vehicle to that parking lot for you. And hopefully this person is a very good instructor that can show you along the way the basics along with this video beforehand. But overall, between the two of you, you should be able to learn fairly easily. And one thing I want to mention right off the bat is don't get too frustrated right away if you don't get it. It obviously takes time to learn. Some people will learn it quicker than others. Some people can be on the street the same day. Other people needs a couple practice attempts in parking lots. But anyways, don't get too frustrated if you don't pick it up right away. Practice makes perfect. So now to learn a little bit about the pedals in a manual transmission vehicle. Now obviously all vehicles have the gas pedal, which is all the way to the right. They have the brake pedal just to the left. And then the clutch pedal in every manual transmission vehicle is going to be the farthest to the left or the third pedal. So in the Chevy Spark, this one is the clutch that I'm pressing now, the brake, and then the gas pedal all the way to the right. Now moving on to the shifter itself. Now most shift knobs in many vehicles are going to have the shift pattern right on them. So you can see in this Chevy Spark, this is a 5-speed manual transmission. We see 1, 3, 5, 2, 4R. So this is a 5-speed with a reverse gear. Every vehicle is going to have either 5 or 6 or 7 speeds, and of course a separate reverse gear. So the shift pattern is always going to be the same. First is left and up, second is down, third is up and in the middle, fourth is down and in the middle, fifth is going to be all the way to the right and up. And like I said, since this is only a 5-speed manual, the reverse gear is typically going to be where the 6th gear would be if the car is equipped. And then the reverse would have a special lockout that you'd pull up on, go all the way up and over, or all the way up and down. It just varies depending on the car. But just know that is where the reverse gear is, all the way over, down. The backup camera comes on because we are in reverse. And then neutral is going to be in the middle where you can wiggle it side to side just like that. So that means you are not currently in a gear. And it is important to note, depending on the vehicle you're in, it will have an electronic or a manual handbrake. So we can see the Spark has a manual handbrake. Down is disengaged, up is engaged just like that, and that will be very critical to learning for your very first time. So I've gone ahead and shut the vehicle off to simulate entering a manual transmission vehicle for the very first time upon startup. Now typically most people will leave the manual transmission in first gear or A gear to prevent it from rolling away as a safety. And similarly, the e-brake will be engaged or pulled up like this one. So if the vehicle has a key, go ahead and insert it in the ignition, but do not turn it on yet. If the vehicle is push button start, obviously just put the key in the cup holder or something like that and get ready to start the vehicle. So start the vehicle. If the vehicle is in gear like this, you don't want it in gear. So you want to first put the clutch in. So press your left foot all the way in on the clutch and hold it. Pull the vehicle out of gear and make sure it's in neutral and it wiggles side to side just like that. Now once the vehicle's in neutral like that, you can go ahead and take your foot off of the clutch, hold the brake down, and go ahead and start the vehicle. So now that the vehicle is running, we can go ahead and put the e-brake down while you're holding the normal foot brake. E-brake's down. Notice I'm still holding the brake like that. So now that we're ready to move, you want to go ahead and put the car into first gear. So go ahead and press the clutch all the way down. Left and up is first gear in every vehicle. And here comes the tricky part. Now don't release your foot off of that clutch quite yet. You go ahead and release the brake if you're on flat ground, and the vehicle shouldn't roll anywhere substantially. So now to get going for the very first time, you really should not have to use the gas pedal just to get used to how to get the vehicle rolling. You can simply use the clutch pedal and let off as slow as possible until you start to feel it grab a little bit. The RPM should change a little bit. You can see we're starting to roll here. Keep letting it off until you get going. And then all the way at the top, you can simply release it. See, my foot's no longer on the clutch pedal, and we are now rolling. That is all it should take in every manual transmission car to get going for the very first time. Now to come to a stop, hold the clutch in once again, put your foot on the brake, Take the car out of gear, put it in neutral, and then you can release your foot off of the clutch once again. Okay, so hopefully you now understand the basics of letting your foot slowly off the clutch in first gear to get started to a roll. Now let's go ahead and dive into using the throttle pedal to get going just a little bit quicker so you can get your foot off of that clutch just a little bit sooner. And obviously this is how you would normally drive in traffic, using the gas pedal, not releasing the clutch super slow, just to get rolling at every stoplight. So this is the point where you really want to start paying attention to your tachometer, which is all the way on the left there. You can see if I go ahead and rev it up, that's the one that's moving right there. That is your RPM, or like I said, tachometer, and shows the revolutions per minute of the engine. So this is where you want to start using that gauge to gauge how much throttle you need to apply depending on your vehicle. So typically under normal driving scenarios from a stop, you almost never need to use any more throttle than 2,000, maybe 2,500 RPM, but a lot of times it's actually a little bit less than this depending on your vehicle once again. Now here in the Chevy Spark, I would say you want to be somewhere around that 2,000 RPM to get going from a stop. So now to show you how this process works in real time, obviously we're in neutral, you can wiggle it back and forth. Put your foot all the way in the clutch, put the car in first gear just like that. Take your foot off of the foot brake, hover it over the throttle, and now we're in first gear. You can let your foot off of the clutch pedal and start giving it a little bit of throttle just so it comes up, like I said, to about 1,500 to 2,000, just like that. And once you start to apply throttle, you can lift your foot off of the clutch pedal just a little bit faster than you did last time, and this will get the car moving. Now obviously to come to a stop, put your foot all the way back on the clutch, press the brake, come to a complete stop, put the car in neutral, take your foot off of the clutch, and you come to a stop. So this is normally how you would drive away from a complete stop using just a little bit of throttle. Okay, now we come to a complete stop once again. You can see I actually shifted into second gear, which I'll show you again how to do right now. So after you get going for the very first time, to shift into second, you simply want to put your foot back on the clutch again, pull down, straighten in motion until you get into second gear. Go ahead and release the clutch fairly slowly. You don't have to do it as slowly as you did to get going, but fairly slowly. Once you're in second gear, apply a little bit of extra throttle while you're doing that simultaneously once again, and you should be good to go into second gear. From a stop, a little bit of extra throttle, foot off the clutch, clutch in, second gear, clutch back out, just like that. So hopefully you now know the basics of driving a manual transmission. I know this was not the most in-depth or most thorough overview of how to drive a manual transmission, but this was the basics. This should get you going in a parking lot and even driving on the street like this. Obviously there's more advanced techniques such as heel-toe downshifting, which chances are if you're learning to drive a manual transmission, you've just heard of the term at best. You've never actually done it or actually know the fundamentals of how to do that. But that is not needed to drive on the street. And this should get you going in a parking lot or even on a roadway as long as you feel confident enough. And if you do feel confident in going out on the roadway, please make sure you do it carefully and respectfully to other drivers out there. You don't want to go out obviously in the middle of rush hour if you're not confident in how to drive a manual transmission. You'll not only upset quite a few people maybe by interrupting the traffic flow, but if you stall and kind of freak out and don't know exactly what to do, how to get the vehicle going again, that could just cause a bad situation, an unsafe situation at that. So make sure you do it safely on the street after you do practice several times in a parking lot and kind of build your confidence there. So like I said, every vehicle is going to be a little bit different in terms of the clutch pedal and the clutch feel, the gear selection, the overall torque available just off idle in the engine. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video or found it helpful. If you did, please hit that like button. It greatly helps out these videos and the channel. If you guys are new and not subscribed, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Let me know down in the comment section below if this video was helpful to you or if it was confusing. Like I said, I tried to explain it as best as possible. It's obviously a lot easier to explain these things in person rather than over video because you can actually show people exactly what to do here in person. They can kind of watch you do it. But over video, that's a little bit tricky. So let me know down in the comment section below if you guys found this video helpful or if it was a little bit confusing, and I can try to clear up any questions you may have. And if you happen to already know how to drive manual transmission and just watching this video to help support me, thank you. Let me know down in the comments if you happen to own a manual transmission and what that vehicle is. I'd be curious because they've made a ton of manuals over the years in a variety of makes and models, but recently they've started stripping vehicles from the lineup that do include manual transmissions or ditching the models altogether, just like this Chevy Spark that we're actually sitting in. So make sure to leave a comment, let me know all that information below. Once again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.